And did you get chills at any point by any
No,
chance?
because I was thinking about it too much.
I got chills.
Oh, did you?
And they say when you get chills in moments where things are happening.
You got chills from our conversation.
Correct.
Chills in a good way?
In a great way.
Oh, cool.
I just want to say this one out loud. Are there things you believe but don't say because other people will think you're a bad person? I have a friend who.
You want to do that one?
I kind of do, but the thing is that I want to talk through it because I don't know how deep I can go with it.
It's okay.
It's an interesting thing, but it is an interesting.
So here's the thing from my perspective. I want to show people that it's possible to have a conversation with someone you disagree with in 5 minutes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly.
That's the goal. Cheers. So want to do that one, and I'll flip this over. I'll give you 5. We'll have 5 minutes.
Yeah, let's do
All
it.
right,
Because
cool.
you had mentioned that earlier. You'd like that one.
Cool. Go for it. Okay, so you read the question.
So are there things you believe but don't say because other people will think you're a bad person?
Yeah.
Or that they are going to judge you for your beliefs
Yeah.
by not saying it.
Do you have any of those things?
Do I have any of those things that I would... it all depends on the other person and what they are representing, right? So this idea that... I have a friend of mine who's he's a conservative in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Right? And he's going to remain nameless. But the concept that he's afraid of what he believes in because of what the town believes and how the town reacts to his beliefs. So he can't expose what he truly
he can't
believes
be
in.
himself.
And really what he believes in is the fact of he doesn't want anyone telling the people what to do because the people
He's
are
kind
the
of like
people.
a libertarian.
Correct.
So what are beliefs that you have but you won't say because you're afraid other people will think you're a bad person?
So at this point, I brought it back to the question so the conversation doesn't become too diffuse.
Can you think of one?
I don't know. That's a tricky thing,
It's
right?
tricky because if you
I
say
would say
it-
that
So at that point, he says, I don't know, and I repeat the word tricky back to him almost as a minimal encourager, in that case, a very minimal encourager, and then I let him know that it is tricky and that it's okay to say, I don't know.
every single thing in our lives the other person can judge us for, right? So the concept that it's every single idea that ever comes from our minds could be perceived one way by the other individual. So meaning that, to be honest, when you're on that sort of neutrality,
But
So that was a mistake. I used but.
you get what I mean?
I'm not sure I
it
do.
requires the other individual to have their judgments for my belief.
So that must
to
mean that you're different to different people. You behave different to different people.
Not me specifically, but I think everyone in general, right? So are there things you believe but don't say because other people will think you're a bad person?
I'm not sure.
So it's other person's beliefs that believe. So my beliefs are what I am true to, right? Now, I may not stipulate something to somebody else because of their beliefs, but that's their belief.
So, okay, so are there things you believe but don't say because other people will think you're a bad person?
So I honed in on this idea of being true to your beliefs, which places your beliefs before your epistemology. And that was my point of entry into this conversation.
The answer to your question is yes, and it depends. Your answer to that, and I don't want to put words
Yeah,
out, I'm
no,
trying
of
to make
course,
sure I
of
understand.
course.
Your answer to that question is yes, there are, but it's person specific. It depends on the person. Is that correct?
Correct.
So that's Rappaport's first rule, making sure that you understand what somebody's claim is. I thought I did, but I wasn't sure, so I repeated back what I thought he was saying.
Correct, yeah, because it's all about what the other person believes. So taking, for example, the fact of what's going on in America right now, right?
Yeah.
The fact is that there are people out there that believe that they should own guns.
Right.
And there are other people who believe you should not own guns.
Right.
And they have XYZ reasons as to why that's the case. So if I say that
Yeah.
we should be allowed to own a gun,
Yeah. You won't say,
other person-
You won't say that in front of someone who thinks the opposite?
potentially depending on what the other person and the circumstances
Oh, you mean like if the
surrounding
other
it.
person is your boss?
If the other person is in
potential
some way,
lover.
potential lover, if they don't believe the same thing, and I'm aware of it, I may hold back from talking about it because I want to not bring up that debate in that moment.
I was a little concerned about the gun example because I didn't want to go down the path of guns, so I had to make sure that I reset it back to the topic. But I also wanted to listen to him and understand how he was using that example.
Do you think that that compromises your personal authenticity and integrity?
I don't believe so. It's this concept of what I really want to do with traveling throughout, like you do now, right? I'm sure there are things that you believe and there are things that I believe, and we just don't see eye to eye.
I wanted to make sure that he stuck to his beliefs there and didn't bring it to my beliefs.
And I think that we all need to come to this place
More buts there, mistake.
where we
Okay.
can be okay
Should I-
with
I made a
not
mistake.
seeing eye to eye.
Yeah, okay, so hold on a second. Listen. So there are things that I believe that if I'm having a conversation with someone, I don't go out of my way to say, well, you know, you believe this and I don't believe this. Not even in a fuck you kind of way, but like you believe something and I don't believe this thing. I don't go out of my way to say that. But if somebody asks me what I believe, I'll tell them what I believe, even if they don't hold those beliefs. Now, are there circumstances I would not do that?
So in that case, I wanted to make sure I didn't give a specific example, especially coming off of his gun example, and I wanted to make sure we stuck to the fealty of the question.
I know. Can you think of one?
So that was my attempt at modeling right there for myself, modeling the behavior, and I was sincerely thinking about one, and then I wanted to see what his was.
I mean,
Like, what would have to be at stake for me to not do that?
it depends.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, are you going to, if you're unhappy with the government today,
Yeah.
should we sit idle? Because the government doesn't want us to speak out.
But
More buts.
I think that's a different question. We're almost out of time, but real quick. So can you think of a context in which I wouldn't want to be myself and tell someone an honest answer for what I believe?
And so I asked him that I placed it on myself so that he wouldn't feel threatened if I asked the question of him, because if he started thinking of contexts in which he wouldn't feel safe, that would change the tenor of the conversation. So I asked him to put it on me.
You're interesting. I mean, you brought up the workplace, right? The workplace, we're so confined in these things, but we shouldn't be bringing in these personal ideals anyway, right? But if it has
Right.
to do with the work or whatever we're working towards,
And if somebody
then we need to stand up for what we believe in.
And there's the second time I heard that, the idea of the importance, before he didn't say stand up for what you believe in, but that idea of believing in something, and that's important to believe, and it's important to stand up. It is now becoming a recurrent theme. It's the second time it came up.
Right? So if I don't see eye to eye with my creative partner
Yeah.
because of what I believe,
Yeah.
and they don't see the same thing, or they're going to judge me for that, then I got to go toe to toe with them.
So I never understood the idea that we need to stand up for what we believe.
I put the lack of understanding on myself as opposed to pressing him for that.
That's a very weird idea to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Again, the idea to me, and the natural consequence of that is he asks why. So now he is modeling it for me about my beliefs, and the likelihood that he'll be threatened from that is very small.
I would think that the first thing you would need to do is to figure out if the thing you believe is true.
Or if it's worth fighting for.
Or if it's worth fighting for, and the way to do that would be to be willing to revise what it is that you believe.
If the other individual is to judge you upon not or speaking out about what you believe in, right?
Yeah, and the only way to do that was to be honest about what you believe.
Correct.
And anytime you're not honest about what you believe, it seems to me that you compromise your authenticity and your personal integrity.
If you don't stand up for what you believe in, I believe that you are compromising it.
Not even standing up for what you believe in, but just giving an honest answer if someone asks you a question about what you believe.
I think that we all need to maintain honesty, truthfully, but
Yeah.
you have to have your guard up, right?
For what? Why?
Because we live in this world in which you can be ridiculed for something that can be misconceived, right? So everyone needs to be very careful about what they say, I think, nowadays.
Yeah, you know what lesson I've learned in my life in the last few days? So look at those questions there. I can guarantee you that people are going to take those questions and go batshit crazy when they see those. People, you shouldn't be talking about those. You shouldn't ask people about those. Don't do that. But those people are going to hate you anyway. There's just nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, I mean, totally to your point. I mean, looking at all these questions, without a doubt, there are various things that could provide a lot. Provide a lot of
people are going to go
conflict.
crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
But why should we cower to those people? Why should we cower to people?
So it all depends on what you truly believe in, right? I do believe in standing up for what you believe in. And if you can really prove in the world that what you believe in is true, then
those little yeahs let him know that you're listening and you're following. It's also good because if somebody goes astray and you haven't said the yeah, or you haven't acknowledge that you're listening to them, when you do break in, if you have to break in, it can be a little jarring.
Other people may see what you see. If you are telling
and what if someone
coming from a place
that
of truth,
it's not true?
If they prove that it's not true, then it's in our best interest.
I love the switch to our there as opposed to the original me or I.
For sure.
To understand that what they're saying is true. Because it's not about living in a fairy tale world.
And in order to do that...
That's a good use of the word and. I wanted to say but there, but it's a good use of the word and that connects and validates everything he just said.
You have to not stand up for what you believe in. You have to. You have to start with a posture of listening, because if you don't, then you're not sure not only what the other person believes, but you're not even sure if what you believe is true.
So I took the exact words of his question, turned it around based upon what he just said, with the idea of asking a sincere question about something which I personally believe.
Well, I got to say that if that's the case, it'd be like, just as an example, and I could be going off the rails here by saying this, but it's like going out and you got a team on a Sunday, right? And both teams need to give it their all. And if they don't give it their all, then what's going to happen is they are going to suffer the consequences in the end. So meaning that both sides of the argument need to give it their all.
See,
they need to stand up what they believe in.
I'm not buying that.
Otherwise, then you're not coming from a place of genuine.
But that assumes it's a competition.
So I could have said, doesn't that assume it's a competition, instead of, but that assumes the competition.
But not a competition, but it's a conflict. And there is no doubt about it that certain questions that you have here, right, can be argued one way or the other, meaning that there's a winning argument. And,
I'm not sure that's true.
It depends. If you want to go into one specifically here.
Yeah, go but we're almost at the 5 minutes.
No
but
problem.
I just want to reiterate this. So the conversation changed from, are there things you believe but don't say because other people will think you're a bad person? That's okay. The conversation has moved from that to standing up for what you believe in. And I'm not sure standing up for what you believe is the right posture to take as you go through life. I'm not saying it's not. I question it.
Otherwise, you sit idle. So really,
No, you
are
don't
there
have to
things?
sit idle. You can still engage people, and you can still, but it's different from rather than standing up for what you believe. Wouldn't a better first premise be ask people what they believe and why they believe it, and figure out if the method that they use to get to it is true, rather than you standing up for what you believe?
The essence of street epistemology in 20 seconds.
So you'd start with the posture of listening first.
You absolutely need to listen. There's no question about it, right? But when you're engaged in that discussion, you need to come from that place of standing up for what you believe in.
I don't
on
think
both
that's true.
sides.
I don't think that's
on
true.
both sides, because you have to represent what your truth is.
There's something about that word represent that really caught me. I didn't know if it was a social class word but was interesting to me because it was a possible way that informed his thinking and his background.
And if you're not representing it to its fullest, then you're not
Why would you
justifying
need to
your truth.
Okay, why would you need to represent what your truth is if somebody else has a method that they're using to get to their truth, which is fallacious?
Well, you're automatically saying that the other person is wrong.
No, I'm saying why the whole concept of you standing up for your truth, or not you, but like the whole concept of somebody standing up for their truth.
Had to make sure that he knew that it wasn't pinned on him so he wouldn't be defensive. And it wasn't pinned on him.
I guess it depends what your objective is. If your objective is to virtue signal to everybody that you're a great person, well, maybe. But if your objective is to either help people or help yourself figure out what's true, I don't think you can start from a position of standing up for what's true. I think you have to start with the position of, does the person who has a belief that's different from mine, did they arrive at that belief through a legitimate process? And if not, it doesn't make any difference if you standing up for your belief is totally irrelevant because this person has a belief that's in make-believe land.
So then
if my reasoning is in error, let me know.
So often if these conversations are complicated, I'll throw out that line. If my reasoning is in error, let me know. So it brings it back not to me or to him or to his ideas, but to a potential problem with my reasoning. It's a very disarming thing to say.
Well, I just feel that if we know that what they're coming from is not a place of honesty.
No, it's not that they're dishonest, but it's just that they're like maybe they're basing their assumptions on something that's factually incorrect.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we know that, right? If we know that,
I don't know. I'm just saying. Like, I just think that there's something. I don't know how a polite way to say it, but there's something wrong about the position of standing up for what we believe. I think the initial position should be, what does someone believe, listening, understanding, and figuring out if the way that they come to that is true. So that would mean if that's true, then standing up for what you believe almost doesn't even make any sense.
Possibly aporia. Is it the beginning of wonder? I don't know.
There's an interesting dialogue that's happening right now in this country alone, that there are certain individuals who believe one thing based on incorrect evidence.
Yeah.
Right? And there are others who stand by the evidence.
Yeah.
The idea that we're not going to call them out for that, or that we're going to sit idle.
But calling them out is exactly what I advocate about listening, understanding,
Correct.
challenging the method.
And
that's
then
not coming at them with your beliefs.
But calling out,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
is standing up for what you believe in.
So the claim seemed to be revised right there from standing up to what you believe in to believing in the idea that you should call someone out if they have a certain belief.
Oh, if what you believe in is calling out nonsense, is that what you're saying? Okay.
But in also whatever that nonsense is.
Yeah.
And it all depends on what the subject matter is.
Yeah.
But the idea that if there is conflict,
Yeah.
people aren't seeing eye to eye, right? And if there is a truth to one over the other, and the person who is true does not maintain that honesty.
Real quick, because we're way over.
Of course.
Let's say that your starting belief is that we need to call out nonsense when we hear it. Don't you need another belief that's coupled with that, which is I'm willing to revise my own beliefs? Because if you don't have that belief in tandem with calling people out, then you're just an asshole.
We're way over time, and I wanted to summarize, and I wanted to make sure, now that I knew the claim, even though it had switched somewhat, I'm bringing out counterexamples, and I found those to be good. He seemed like a very sincere, very genuine guy, so I had no problem with bringing out the counterexamples at this point.
There is 100% truth to that.
Bingo.
Yeah.
You, without a doubt, need to be so vigilant in
your own belief life.
Correct.
Absolutely, no question about it.
Exactly. But if you're too set in your ways,
Right. And see, that's the problem I have with standing up for what you believe.
Because people will cloud their judgment
That's
of listening
exactly
to the other.
correct.
And the conversation turns.
I see your point, and I do agree with you there. I think that in order to get to that place,
Yeah.
you need to justify what you really believe in. And
Right.
in order to do so, you need to have it coming from that great place.
Right, and in order to do that, you have to start with the initial posture, which is listening, understanding.
I restated the claim again, and he's acknowledging, and this would have been a good opportunity in many cases. I didn't need it with him, but it would have been a great opportunity to build a golden bridge right there.
And then seeing if that method works.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
So great to meet you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's a great conversation. I really
Really
appreciate
cool.
it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Wow. So, I'll definitely look you up.
That was a winning conversation. That was the conversation I was looking for.
That's so cool.
That was the
really
conversation I was
good.
looking for.
That's awesome.
That made the whole trip to California worth it.
Are you kidding?
No, totally serious.
Really?
Yep.
I'm pleased. And did you get chills at any point by any
No,
chance?
because I was thinking about it too much.
I got chills.
Oh, did
and
you?
they say when you get chills in moments where things are happening.
You got chills from our conversation.
correct.
Chills in a good way.
In a great way.
Oh, cool.
It's an acknowledgement of the emotions that we're both feeling. Is
Yeah.
what they say that is.
Oh, interesting. And was there a part of our conversation that gave you chills?
It was within there were certain enlightening moments. I think you'll hear like a change in the voice when listening.
Oh,
Yeah,
excellent. Cool.
yeah,
Well,
and
thanks. I
there's definitely
appreciate that.
acknowledgments, definitely
Oh, well,
throughout.
thank you.
Yeah,
I really
felt
appreciate that.
100%.
Oh. Aporia. Cool. Wow, that's good. I feel really good right now. I'm going to shut these off.